It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. And today's product of the day is not a toy. It's the DJI Goggles. So these are the DJI Goggles, which basically enables you to do FPV with their quadcopters, like the DJI Mavic and the Phantom. So FPV stands for first person view. So basically, these goggles you put on and you look through these lenses, and that enables you to have a first-person view flight with your quadcopter. So basically, it's as if you're really flying, because when you look through the screen, your full view is going to be what the aircraft sees, or more accurately, what the aircraft's camera sees. So let's break this down and run through this part by part. So basically, this comes in two parts. You can actually separate the ring that goes around your head from the goggles themselves, and there is the little button you press to release it. So we'll do that right now. So here it is together, and now one thing I don't like about the design on this is I was able to separate this without even pressing that button, which is supposed to be the release. If you look here, you'll see there's a little spring-loaded sort of button right here that's supposed to lock it in, but it doesn't really do a good job. So that's one of the faults I find with this, is that during flight I've had this disconnect a couple of times, which is not a cool thing to be flying and all of a sudden the screen goes black. But anyway, this is the two pieces. So this part you wear on your head, and if we flip this over, we can see it's nicely padded, and I would say it's pretty comfortable to wear this. Nice and soft and squishy. And right here is where you can charge it. There's the micro USB charger. Now there's something weird I noticed with this as well, and maybe we have a defective unit, I don't know, but this thing will be, the lights here, it'll be yellow for over a day. I left it overnight charging, still yellow, and the green lights over here is, you know, strobing left and right, left and right, left and right, like it's charging. I'm like, when is it gonna stop doing that? So I don't know what's up with that, but a couple of problems with the DJI Goggles. So right there you can see that's the connector that we just separated from the head piece there. Now if you look in the back, there's a little dial that you can use to adjust it to fit your size of your head, how big your noggin is, and the dial is right here. You just turn that, pretty easy to do. Try to see if I can do that one-handed. So you just turn this dial, and as you can see, it separates, but also you notice it'll, see that? When you release it, it's spring-loaded, so it'll squeeze in on your head, not uncomfortably so, but securely so. And then when you want to get it tight, you get it to the right position, you can just dial it like that. Pretty easy to do. And of course this has a little flap to protect it. You can just cover that up, no problem. And here's how the back of it looks. There you go. And now let's take a look at the goggles. So here are the goggles by themselves. Top view, this is the front view. And let's take a look underneath. So you got some buttons there. So if you take a look, you've got a function button there, and you got a back button up here, and you've got your focus right here, so you can focus the lenses so that, you know, the picture is sharp for you, which I found was a little bit difficult for me, but my vision may not be 100%. What I found was the best way to get the sharpest picture was if the goggles were not pressed up sharply against my face. If I put a little bit of a gap, maybe 2mm gap between the edge of this and my face, then I got a much sharper picture. Was it ever perfectly sharp for me? No, but again, my vision may not be 100%. I had a family member try it and said it was really sharp for him, so probably my fault. Now, if you look on this side, you have a speaker, and you also have an HDMI port right here, so you can actually plug in an HDMI source into this. You can see there's a connector, and if you look very closely, you'll see there's a headphone jack there and a slot for a memory card. But from my understanding is you cannot record to that memory card for whatever reason. So, interesting enough. On the reverse side, you have a power button and you have the lights here, which indicate like when you're charging and things like that. You start it up just like you would on your Mavic. So it's tap and hold to start it up. And this is also a sort of touchpad interface. You can swipe it and do certain gestures and things like that, which has been not the most intuitive experience for me. I admit I did not read any of the instructions on it, but again, that's what being intuitive is all about. Your ability to, have used a touchpad before on a laptop and other devices and be able to translate that experience to figuring out a new device. For me, I was not able to do so. I mean, I was able to figure out, generally what I'm doing is I turn these things on and it always pops up some kind of message or something. And I'm just like, I'm like, go away, go away, go away, and it goes away. That's literally what I do every time. Now, admittedly, I could go read the instructions and maybe figure out the proper way how to use it and things like that. But again, we're talking about how intuitive it is, right? So again, I've used touchpad interfaces before. I've used this for about a week, and I still don't know how the touchpad is supposed to be operated. I don't know how to really go through the menu. The only thing I do with this is my main focus of this, my only focus of this is to close the messages that pop up when I start it. That's the only thing. I don't really use it to activate anything or go through the menu and do different things. I don't do anything. I don't use this for anything other than getting menus out of my way. The only controls I use on the goggles is the power button to turn it on and turn it off, and the focus dial to focus it, and that's it. Other than that, I obviously adjust it, so that I can see what I need to see and get the sharpest image, and that's about it. I'm gonna try to one-handed connect this, so let's go. You can see the connector right there. I'm just gonna put it in there. All right, this is gonna be fun to slide around on the table. All right, one-handed, let's go. One-handed. Let's get in there. And let's see, I want to get you guys a good view. Okay, so there we go. And this is too slippery to do one-handed. Let's see. I got my finger in here for grip. And you notice you don't really hear a snap. I don't really hear any snap at all. I mean, I know I'm doing it one-handed, but even when I do it with two hands, I never hear a snap in there, which explains why this thing can disconnect without. So I'm going to connect it securely with two hands, and then we'll try to pull it apart, and you guys will see. Hang on. All right, so I got it mounted. I got the Galaxy S8 mounted on my MacBook Pro using my screen mount, which I'll talk about in another video, which I love. Anyway, so here it is. So here it is, two-handed, right? So I'm going to connect it again. So let's go, so I can pull that right out, right? So you can see me push this in, and we'll see if we can hear any kind of snap. And just to remind you, see the little thing that's spring mounted? It's that little thing that sticks up there. See that? All right, so let's listen for that. Yeah, focus. Focus. All right, here we go. I don't hear any snap, right? So now when it's connected like this, I can pull it right apart, right? So you'll have it connected, and in the middle of flight, it'll separate, and not cool. However, one thing that's good is if that happens during flight, so you're wearing it like this, right, on your head, or probably more like this, right? You can just very easily have it like this. You can just easily, so the screen goes black, you can just boom, now you can see all around you. Hopefully you've maintained line of sight so you can see the quadcopter, Mavic, Phantom, whatever it is. And then you'll have the controls in your hand, so you'll have your tablet or your phone, and you can see what the quadcopter sees. You can see wherever it is, and regain control and things like that. So it's nice that I don't have to unmount it from on my head. I can keep this on my head. I just, at any moment, you can just flip this up, which is a great feature. I mean, forget about the screen going black. Just in general, it's nice to be able to basically go, FPV to, normal view, right? For example, taking off. I always take off without this because it can be a little bit tricky to be taking off with this, right? Because you can't see, you can only see what the camera sees, right? So you can't see behind you and things like that. So it's kind of unsafe, right? So you want to make note of your surroundings and what's around your Mavic or Phantom or whatever quadcopter you have. And you can do that with the goggles up. So you take off safely, I can see everything, get up to a nice safe altitude, and now I can switch to FPV mode by simply putting the goggles down. So let's talk about the experience of the DJI Goggles. So other than what I've mentioned before, how is it using it? It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You do get a sensation of flight, especially when you start making turns and going fast and things like that, going over nice scenery. You do get a little sense of that you're actually flying. Not as intense as I expected it to be. I expected it to be more even potentially disorienting and things like that, and that does happen slightly, but it's not really that big of a deal. It's just you're flying and you get the full view, and occasionally for me, your mileage may vary. Occasionally for me, I get a sensation of that I'm actually flying, right? I don't know how to describe that otherwise, but that's pretty cool. One thing that was immediately sort of disappointing is the resolution. The technology is not there yet to really broadcast HD video like that, especially at the distances that you're going to be flying. But the important thing is, some of you may think, oh yeah, technology is there, but here's the thing. You're flying, right? You're flying, you're moving very quickly. You need instantaneous signal. You can't have any lag at all whatsoever. So you need not only to be able to push that at a heavy amount of data, but you need to be able to push it very fast, right? You don't have time for buffering or even a half a second delay. You can crash. So the ability to push an HD signal in real time with minimal lag, basically a lag that is not perceivable at all. We're not there. It's definitely not at this price point. We're not there. Look at the news. You watch TV news, right? And they broadcast in HD and stuff like that. And, there's a lag. There's a, hey, John, what's the latest for the scene? Hey, so we're on the scene, and there's that delay because they're using satellite, and there's some kind of a delay there. But they can get away with that because, okay, so there's a little minor gap between the question and the answer. But for you, that gap means a crash, possibly a crash, right? Because while you're waiting to catch up to the video to where the aircraft actually is, you're already crashed. So no good. So to solve that, they use standard definition and lower resolution signals. So when you look at the image, it looks kind of distorted. It just looks like a low quality image. Think about looking at an old school YouTube video where it's a little pixelated and things like that. So that's how it looks. It's a low resolution, lower quality image. It's pretty big because it's in your face, so that kind of makes up for it. But if you're expecting to see the same image quality you see on your phone when you're flying, that's not what you're going to see at all. Still very cool, but you're probably like me, probably expecting to see something more like on your phone. Because keep in mind, the phone resolution is not the full resolution, right? You're shooting in 2K and stuff like that, but on your phone it's a much lower resolution. But it still looks very sweet on your phone. But to see that on your goggles, that's a whole nother story. Now, some of you may wonder, why is it that your phone can have the higher resolution than the goggles? And that's a very good question. But what I would wonder is, what would it take to broadcast a real-time signal to your phone and to your goggles at the same time? Maybe that is the problem. I'm not sure, but I do know that there are certain limitations with the kinds of transmitters that are available right now for FPV. In fact, I think DJI Goggles has one of the highest resolutions. Is it DJI Goggles or is it the Fat Shark? I may be wrong on that. Either Fat Shark or DJI Goggles has one of the highest resolutions, but their resolution is not really all that. So just bear that in mind. A lot of the other FPVs, like these guys that are using these race quads and stuff like that, their resolution is even lower than this. Anyway, so that's my experience. And just to know, just to let you know how you use it, you wear the goggles and then you can fly with the remote and you can have your phone or not use your phone because you can use this as your screen, right? You're seeing the image from the camera with the goggles, right? So you don't need to use your phones. You can save your battery. You can use just your remote control to fly, your normal Mavic remote, your whatever the other quadcopters are, I forgot the name, Phantom remote. You can use your normal remote control to fly, to control the aircraft. And then to see, you can use just the goggles. Or you can use, like I do, the phone and the remote in your hand and the goggles on your face. So that's the DJI Goggles. Click on the like button, subscribe, and after you subscribe, click on the bell icon because that's the only way you're going to get notified on future videos. Right? So click on the subscribe button, click on the bell icon to get notified, and I'll see you on the next episode. We'll be talking about a lot more stuff like the MacBook Pro.